everyone, and welcome to this informal Fearless Friday chat. I do have some instructional materials for us today, so I'm going to pull up my screen here right away, but I'd love for people to move into the chat box. Please put yourself on mute while we do this. Hey, Madeline. Hey, Audrey. Thank you for joining us. You can have your videos on. That's fantastic. But what I'd like you to do is in the chat box, say where you are in the world, connect with us, and let's continue on. All right. So just put in the chat box where you're from so we can create a little bit of community here. Be great to see everyone. And I'll open up my chat in case we want to respond and get people connecting with each other. So where are you right now in the world? And maybe what is one of your most pressing questions about mindset right now? Because I'm really excited about setting you up and putting things together here for you. Okay, Audrey, we have you out of Sherwood Park outside of Alberta. And we'll see who else is setting themselves up. Everybody got their tea, coffee, or mid-morning snacks ready to go. And yeah, if we can just get your volume to be off, but you're welcome to jump in and be part of this day. How's everybody doing? Hanging in there. So we have Von Eric. He's from Drayton Valley. Fantastic for joining us. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen here with you. And I have a bit of a presentation. And then we'll do a Q&A and just talk about mindset, what's going on for you right now, and how I can best support you. So mastering your mindset is, you know, people often find it that it can be very challenging, but at the same time, it is one of the greatest liberations that we have. We have an opportunity to have control over one thing that, you know, no one can take away from us. Viktor Frankl wrote the book, A Man's Search for Meaning. And in his book, it's really about connecting with, no matter how turbulent times can be, no matter how difficult and challenging things could be, that you still come down to the humanity of being able to have a choice, being able to make a decision. So really thinking about that during this time, whether it be uncertain times, whether it be pandemic times, I want you to think of it as just uncertainty. And the one thing that we know for sure is we face uncertainty on a regular basis. And it's only when we see these challenges that, you know, we're in a global state right now, but when we are facing challenges, we often have it in our heads that this feels like there's some permanency to it. And everything in life faces different challenges. So they're always temporary. They always come from a certain place that things will last for a certain period of time, whether they're positive or negative. But it's up to us to see how long we can have that positive mindset be more sustainable. So I'm just going to move forward here. Just for those of you who do not know who I am, I'm a 3-time best-selling author. My last book is Let's Be Curious. So as you know, I ask a lot of questions because I love to learn and be really curious about the people around me, and people watching is probably one of my favorite pastimes. I'm a professional speaker. Recently, in September of 2019, I was the icon of influence at a podcast host from the Millionaire Woman Show. In June, end of June, we're going to be celebrating 4 years of the Millionaire Woman Show. It's available on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, so make sure you jump over there. We have some phenomenal guests, plus some solo episodes that are sure to fill up time, but also educate you, inspire you, and motivate you to take action. I'm a certified executive coach who took her training through Royal Roads University, and I abide by the International Coach Federation guidelines and ethics. I've worked with a wide range of industries in my coaching career, with everyone from psychology, coaches, real estate, financial, network marketing. So a various degree of backgrounds. And the one thing with a coach is that they don't necessarily have to be in your industry, because you're the expert of you. You're the expert of your industry. You need to know the ins and outs. And it's with the training of being a coach, we're able to see where you're getting in your own way, ask you questions so that you can reflect and really dive in, because the belief is that you do have all the answers that you need to move forward. Those ideas come to you and only to you. They don't come to everyone around us. So it's interesting how, when we get an idea and we want to go after it, and then we seek advice from people who maybe have never done anything, are willing to take the leap and go after what it is they want, and then being able to learn how to trust ourselves at the same time. For those of you who are just joining us, I would love for you to type in the chat box just where you're joining us from in the world. And if you have any questions about mindset, please feel free to put it in the chat box. And I will, we'll have a Q&A part to this as well. It's just an informal engagement for us to get together, but I also have some formal mindset training for you so that you can get through any type of uncertain times, but really focusing your mindset and moving forward at all times. So why mindset? So what? Who cares? And what difference does it make? And you've heard the quote that mindset is everything. Yet I've had people disagree with me. I'm like, oh, mindset's not everything. I need to, I just need to have the knowledge. I need to have the abilities. I need to have the skills. And if I don't have those, it means that I can't do anything. Knowledge and skills, they can be attainable. But the first thing is that you have to have the awareness of what is going on between these 6 inches. What is influencing the way I think, the decisions that I make? So today I'm really going to focus in on, are you paying attention and having that awareness? The second piece is motivation. It's that desire to really move forward and go after it. It's your why. That why is what drives you. What's going to help you jump out of bed in the morning and really stay focused on really asking yourself those positive questions. In my training with working with helping people navigate through positive change, especially on uncertain times, what I want to work with you on today is to really help you see how you can shift in even the smallest moment from choice to choice. So that's what we're going to do today. So how do we get in our own way? Here we have a maze and, we hit these roadblocks and we're wondering, like, how are we ever going to get to our destination where we want to go? So we assume that what we think, we say does not matter. But how does the work that you do impact others? And people develop a learned helplessness. They think, well, why bother? There's no point. We see people getting complacent when they're doing repetitive work. We see people getting complacent when they no longer want to do things anymore, or they don't see that the result is going to happen. So they stop believing what will be, they focus on their current circumstance. And this is one of the greatest downfalls that I see people have, is they're so focused on the current circumstance. And it's not that we ignore it, but how do we want to show up? What do we want that future state that we're moving into that suddenly becomes our present to look like? So when we're looking at that anticipation and thinking about, I am not my current circumstance, this is not who I am, this is not where I plan to be, during any time, it's that focus of, well, how do I want to show up? How do I want to think? What do I need to do differently to get there? So to really pay attention, because you will know by asking yourself and doing some reverse engineering what it is that you truly need to be doing to be moving forward. And fear paralyzes us from taking action. List some of the fears that you might have below. Just jot them in the chat box. Often we have the fear of embarrassment, the fear of judgment, the fear of public speaking. Often people list as a lot. But there's so many different fears that people have. They don't want to be shamed. Their fear of an imposter syndrome. They have the fear of, that being found out is part of that imposter syndrome. But the greatest fear most people have is that fear of uncertainty. And with that uncertainty is asking yourself, will I be able to handle this? Yet we face uncertainty every single day when we get up in the morning. So when we get up in the morning, we don't know what's going to happen. We might have a calendar blocked off with time chunks of what we want to accomplish in the day. But we don't necessarily know if we walk out the door or we eat something that everything's going to work out just exactly the way we want it to. So to really focus on the direction that you're heading, but paying attention that all the skills you've ever needed to get through times of uncertainty in the past are things that you can also carry forward into this moment. And if any of you have read Marie Forleo's book, Everything is Figure Outable, if you repeat that to yourself, you're going to find ways to figure it out. You're going to start telling yourself these positive words that, okay, it's figure outable. What do I have to do? You're going to check YouTube. We're going to listen to a podcast that has a title that seems similar. I'm going to ask a friend. I'm going to email somebody who might know the answer. So you're going to start putting vibes out there, and you're going to put your claws out there and start pulling in information that's going to really move you forward to move past uncertainty. Because uncertainty diminishes as soon as we feel like we have some more knowledge, increasing competency. Also, our confidence goes up as well as we increase that confidence and competency, then we're more likely to take action. There's a fear of failure. But when we fear failure, is it that we're expecting to fail? Be careful where you're putting your attention to. And if you have no system in business, people often let their emails direct how their day's going to go. So they're going to sit down at their computer and they're like, oh, I wonder who emailed me today. Oh, maybe that's what I'll do. That's what someone needs something from me. Instead, one of the best things to do is sit down at the computer. If you're going to go on your email, search for people you need answers from so that it moves your work forward before someone else. Because often what I refer to other people's is other people's agenda, OPA. So often emails are people asking you something. So to really pay attention to that. So our thoughts create feelings, but thoughts also create things. So thoughts create feelings, the feelings create the behavior reinforces the thought. So now you're sitting there thinking, okay, so Deb has this blue circle. What's this blue circle? So what is influencing the way you think? And it can be those beliefs, the beliefs that you've held. So there's internal and external influences. So that blue circle stands for influences. There are influences that affect how you think, then how you feel, then the actions that you're going to take to get the results that you want. So thinking about the influences, when we think of external, we can think about what's going on in the media. So if we absorb a lot of media, especially negative media, and CNN is often referred to as constant negative news, when we spend our time, that is influencing how we're thinking. And that's where a lot of people hit that why bother. And when we're reading things, do you believe them to be true? So as soon as the belief is there, then we start thinking about it. And as we repeat, it's like a rinse. You continually rinse and repeat, and slowly it starts getting ingrained into your psyche. And then all of a sudden, how do you feel when you are reading all this stuff? That's, that why bother, we're going to be here for months and not move forward. But again, we have that control of, are we going to continually, it's not about not being in the know, but how much of it do we need on a regular basis to get sucked into a Twitter feed or into Facebook, with negative news or people ranting, or I can't believe this, to really be able to shift into a space that's more productive, more positive, and really purposeful in the intentions that I want to get to. Other external ones, I want you to jot them down in the chat box, share with each other here. Other things that are influencing you are the books that you read. If you're a gamer, those video games are also influencing you. The podcasts you listen to, the radio, the music, the type of music you listen to. So these are just some of the external influences. But then we have the internal influences. So it might be childhood experiences. It could be the beliefs that you're carrying with you from those times, about rich people, like all of these different beliefs about money, about how hard you need to work, about what kind of food you need to eat. These are all beliefs. And when we have our beliefs and we believe them to be true, whatever our perception is becomes our reality. And based on that reality, it creates the way we think, it creates the way we feel, and it creates the behaviors that we take action with. But what I want you to do is, not every belief we hold is true. So I want you to think of some of the beliefs or some of the self-talk that you've been telling yourself. And is there totally 100% truth to them? And what gives you that truth? And when you believe that truth, what results are happening? And if you're not liking those results, you need to go back to that belief and how it's influencing how you think, how you feel, and the actions that you take. So if I had a belief that I was someone's shadow on a regular basis, and I kept saying, you know what, I'm just in that person's shadow, I'm just in that person's shadow, and it's repetitive in my head, thinking about it and then feeling, if I feel like I'm a shadow, I'm not going to be really proactive. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to take the actions necessary to get the results that I want. And I'm going to hold myself back and get in my own way of having that success. So I want you to think about some of the self-talk that you might have been saying to yourself based on some beliefs. It could be relationship, it could be finances, that maybe someone maybe commented to years ago, even in school. You know what, you're never going to amount to, I know someone who is told that, you'll never amount to anything. And this was way back in grade 1. And then when she was, upgrading her education, she still had that voice. You're never going to amount to anything. Studying hard, getting 88s, 94s, but she still had the belief that she wasn't going to amount to anything. Yet she still succeeded, but she had to start shifting that this person has passed away. It's not even I can dress it with them. It happened in grade 1. I'm not the same person I am today. So it's really about being able to challenge the beliefs, because we hang on to it, especially when it came from a coach, a mentor, someone we really respected and trusted. It could be from a parent. And we might not have interpreted the meaning well. Years ago, I remember telling someone, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. And she looked at me and she said, Deb, you're not going to motivate anyone. And she promptly just turned around and walked away. And I was like horrified. And I just looked at her when she walked away and I said, watch me. I used that as my fuel. But years later, when I had my book came out, she was one of the first people who I said, no, I'm gifting this to you, because she had no idea that the book was driven because of what she said to me. But she wanted to purchase the book. And what she doesn't know is I wrote that book with wanting to prove something, but at the same time, I proved something to myself. But I also learned that I can't motivate anyone to do anything in that respect. So I need to understand, what was the intention behind it? Was she meaning to be spiteful? Was she meaning to be, hurtful? But what she was really meaning is that intention, that motivation must come from within. So when we start questioning what people are saying and using our questions and challenging assumptions and avoiding jumping to conclusions, we can really get a clearer picture of the direction and where we want to go, and helping understand where that's coming from. So the other work, if you've never read Carol Dweck's book on mindset, I highly, highly recommend it. So want to ask yourself, when it comes to mindset, to pay attention. Do you have a fixed mindset? And it's belief that intelligence or my beliefs are firm, they won't change. And then we have the growth mindset, where intelligence can be developed, where I can continuously be learning. And a fixed mindset person has the desire to look smart, right? They don't want you to think that they don't know what they're doing. They avoid taking on challenges. And there's times that we can be any one of these. But I want you to think of an area in your life right now where you see a challenge, you don't want to look bad, so you're not even going to bother. It's telling, and why, I want you to challenge that why bother. So why not bother? Why not do it? To really act as if this, and going deeper to, is this important to me, and what am I willing to do to get it? The person who has a fixed mindset will often give up easy, and they see effort as a waste of time. They ignore criticism. Instead of saying, okay, can I step back and what can I learn from this? Realizing no matter, life is giving us feedback all the time, but we don't have to own it. We don't have to own every piece of feedback as truth. We can have it come by us and we can say, that's very interesting. Do I need to hang on to this, or can I just release it and say thanks, but no thanks? This one's not for me. It's not constructive. It's not going to do anything for me. And it's obviously based on your opinion and based on your own experiences. And they also feel threatened by the success of others. So there's that jealousy, that underlying belief. They might be the person who says, well, nice, good for you. Underlying that nice, good for you is a belief that they cannot accomplish it. So if you ever hear someone say, yeah, nice, good for them, there's that underlying belief, that hidden agreement amongst themselves that they don't believe it's possible for them. And then we have that growth is we're embracing challenges, like bring it on, let's do this. Keep going even when times get difficult. And this attributes also to keeping those routines in motion, getting up, making your bed, washing up for the day. And I know during uncertain times, or right now, people have a period of being off work and not feeling themselves, to those simple basic things. When we can get back to the basics and take on the day with the simpleness of making a bed, washing up for the day, it really does start making you feel better. You're taking and you're building that momentum and seeing effort as the path to mastery. With anything that you want to succeed at, there is a level of repetition. Why? Because you're building new neural pathways in the brain. And I often use an analogy of the wheelbarrow, where you're moving a wheelbarrow back and forth to really ingrain that messaging to the brain. Learn from criticism. Again, what am I taking away from this? Is there something productive? If not, I can release it. And learning from and finding inspiration from the success of others. The fact that someone has done something that you are interested in doing, whether it be in running a marathon, writing a book, speaking on a stage, traveling the world, people have done it. So the fact that someone else can do it is just social proof that you can too. So even though those people around you may provide a little bit of doubt and fear, that's often coming from a place of their own insecurity, their own, that they're not willing to go after their own dreams, not willing to take on and jump in and go after it. So they want to keep in that safe place. And if I keep you safe with me, then everything in my world's not going to change. And that's often why people do not want to move too much forward. Then there's the work by Dr. Marilee Adams that I really like. And it's about the judger versus learner. And the judger will look at a situation and they'll say, okay, what's wrong? They're always focused on the problem. Whose fault is it? It's about pointing fingers, wanting to blame others. How can I prove I'm right? They have that need to be right all the time. And how will this be a problem? And how will this hurt or limit me? So you can hear just in the language alone, when I'm thinking of hurt and limit and feeling a lack and needing to blame someone, they forget that those three fingers of pointing the finger, there's three fingers pointing back at me to say, how am I responsible? How is this reflecting back on me? Whereas the learner, and by being curious, you're going to say, okay, so what's right in this situation? So we can look at a time of uncertainty. We can look in a time of chaos. And even though it could be mucky and we have all kinds of emotions around it, if we can take a step back and reflect and say, okay, what's right now? How is this working for me? What is working? What am I responsible for? What do I have control over? We have control over the thoughts we have, the feelings that we are able to produce from the beliefs that we believe, and the actions we take. So if we look at those things, there's a whole lot we have control over. And there might be all of these things that we do not have control over, but we have control over our immediate environment, what we allow into our minds, what we allow for us to speak outwardly, the power of our words, All of these things are impacting mindset. What do I want? This is a great time to ask. Often people aren't stopping to ask, what do I truly want? What can I learn? What are the facts? And how can I find this useful? And what's possible for me right now? So what do we do to get it out of our own way? And the biggest thing is clarity enables boldness. And the 4 things that I just want to help you with is to stop waiting for perfection, chunk things down, develop systems. Failure is part of the process. So we get up, we move forward, and we start taking action. If we fall, we just get up. But I want you to stop and say, okay, what can I learn from this? What am I going to take away? Because we're so busy looking for what's wrong, and then we stop right away. And this is where I hear a lot of organizations, well, we've done that before. Well, if you've done it before and it didn't work, what did you learn? And how long ago was that? We have new technology. We're in a new environment. We have people with new experiences, more education. So it's never the same. So when people say that, well, we've done it before, my question is, what did you do differently moving forward? And when you're working, whether you're working in business or whether you're working in just in your own life, I want you to ask yourself, and I know these questions are business related, but I'm going to also make sure they're lifestyle related, is what are people's biggest frustrations? What are their worries? What are their fears? When people offer you objections, it's often because they have unexpressed fears. So really being able to empathize, meet people where they're at. Anxiety and fear can be out in the community, and you can be that calm voice in all the chaos to say, you know what, I get it. But let me reassure you that all these uncertain times are going to pass. We don't know when, but we can remind them what they're in control of, just like you are. How can you put their mind at ease? Thinking about how you can approach those situations. How can you speak and address those fears? And what can you guarantee them? And then one of the biggest guarantees is being able to empathize and be with them where they're at, so you can help move them forward. So this is where I'm going to stop the share, but I love to find out your questions. And I'm going to pop into the chat box, but I just want to close out the share so we can make sure that I see all these questions here. Awesome. So imposter syndrome, and that's great. Thank you, Gayleen. So one of the imposter syndrome, this is how I like to tell people. Unless you're a physician, neurosurgeon, this is when, that skill set and knowledge needs to be really high. But when you're in the act of doing, you're not an imposter. You're developing and practicing the skill, and you are creating that mastery of repetition. So you're moving forward, you're creating action, and no one can refer to that as an imposter. An imposter to me is someone who's sitting back, not walking the talk and telling people, this is what I do, but they're not doing it. So when you hear the term act as if, I like to shift it to act as is. You want to be that person you already see yourself to be. So getting dressed up and showing up as that person, paying attention to the words that you use. And in one of my Facebook Live videos recently, I was talking with people, and they were talking about, I was supposed to do this. If I would have saved more money, or I would have paid attention to my money leaks, and this and that. And it's all this self-beating up behavior. And as the chart that I went through, if you're doing that with your beliefs and your thoughts that you believe this to be your truth, then imagine the actions that you're going to take that match that. So if you're not liking some of the results that you have around you, go back to what you're believing. There's an underlying belief, whether you're aware of it or not, that is influencing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and the actions that you're going to start taking. So really paying attention to that. So when you are in the motion and being and acting as is, you are practicing, you are becoming that person, repetitive behavior, and you're moving through. So this is where I want you to debunk that imposter, because if you're taking action, you are not an imposter. The person who's an imposter is showing up and saying, this is what I'm doing, but I'm not putting any action behind it. So I hope that addresses the imposter syndrome. Uncertainty. Von Eric, you want to just take the mic off and just tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that so I can address that for you.
So we are in, thank you, Debra, for that. So we're in a situation right now that this pandemic is stopping the world. So everything is canceled, party canceled, events canceled. So there's a big uncertainty ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, I can't bring my job to my work. So I can't work at home, literally. So that is uncertainty on my part.
Right. So what are the things that you know that you can do right now? Like when you know you cannot do your job right now, your employer may know that you can't do your job right now, or you're an entrepreneur where it's really slowed back. This is the time to create opportunity to be open to possibility of thinking differently, to move. And this is why I put Fearless Friday, is that we want to move past the fears that we have, to be less fearful and more into facing those fears and moving forward with action, really looking at the opportunities of educating ourselves. It could be Udemy courses. It could be Coursera. There's a lot of free courses out there, webinars that are going on right now, and virtual coffee breaks like with Bob, where you can have an opportunity to really connect with others and see what others are doing this time, to open up that possibility, but to also start educating yourself and maybe making some shifts and plans for that future state of how you're planning to show up, how you would like it to be. What I encourage each of you to do is find an image that resonates with you. It has to be an emotional connection that represents freedom, that represents that confidence, that dream. And it could be a picture of a beach. It could be a picture of a child. It could be a picture of a plant that represents something to you, that you feel a connection that gives you hope, it gives you joy, and it gives you happiness, knowing that that time is coming. Right? Because this is a time to be on top of mind, right? I firmly believe, and even during recessional times, that the people who are putting in the work, being top of mind of others, are the ones that are going to be remembered. They're the ones that when times are going to start going good, they're going to remember that those who were most resilient were the people who moved through the uncertain times, and they were able to show up and still impact change. Awesome. I hope that helps. Von Eric.
Yes.
Okay. And Audrey, thanks for talking about cleaning up outstanding items, releasing that energy from dragging those items into uncertain times. So really, that's so awesome about taking things out that are no longer going to be serving you, for that anticipation of, you need to have things set up for when things, people used to say, well, when Oprah calls, will I be ready? Did you want to take yourself off the mic and speak to a little bit about what you're doing? Yeah, Audrey, you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So one of the things that a long time ago, I was in a personal development course, and it actually, I'm just gonna grab it for a second, just give me a second here. It actually has a lifetime agreement assignment list that was on my bulletin board, and as you were talking about it, I thought, oh, this is absolutely speaking to me. But it basically says it has 22 items, but I'll just read it a couple. So clean my house from top to bottom and keep it that way. Get my office clean and keep it clean. Return my phone calls, clean my car, blah, 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 blah. Just wait. Fix anything that doesn't work or get rid of it. There's a whole list of getting up to date on all these different areas. Get my body in shape and keep it that way. If you have paperwork, I have some paperwork that is due that is outstanding, that it wouldn't take me long to get up to date. So I should just do it so then I can move on to other things. And here's, you know, maybe this is the gift that I have a little bit more time. So, you know, the universe has given me that time to do that. And hopefully at the end of this, I won't be in the same position that I'm in right now, where I'm looking at it thinking, oh, I wish I would have done that differently during that time.
Mm. And using it to that benefit, right? When we can start seeing the positiveness and not come from a place of helplessness. Because during uncertain times, we're not helpless. It's a learned helplessness. And when we can start seeing the things that we're able to do versus not able to do, that's when shifts start to happen. And it's with consistency that we start to see the positive changes, because we are also challenging the beliefs that we have and moving those beliefs into new beliefs and incorporating those new beliefs to start feeling good and starting to take different actions. If we believe a belief to be our truth and hang on to it, what happens is you're closing the door to any opportunity or any possibility that exists because you believe that to be your truth. So thank you for that. And thank you everyone for joining me. And I see that Bob's decluttering the office, doing some Zoom calls, having virtual coffee dates with everyone. I'm just putting in the chat box because I have a feeling that Zoom might kick us out in a few moments. But I'm so glad that you joined me. Actually, I want to also, if you have any questions, I'm going to put my email address. Please email me. I will email them, and I'll also, do a Facebook Live that will attribute to answering some of your questions. Next Saturday, I have Zaheen, a friend of mine that will be joining me, Zaheen Nanji. And we are going to have another Zoom coffee chat, and we're going to be talking about resilience and resetting the mind. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to be 1 o'clock on Saturday. If you're able to join us, I will be putting it up, all the information, just like I did on Facebook. And Zaheen and I will be talking about resilience and resetting the mind so that we can help you move through uncertain times. So if you go to my website and put in your email, you can get the free video course called Making Habits, oops, I forgot the last word, Stick. It's a 3-part video. So there's 3 videos and there's instructional with it, with an assignment. And again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to connect with me. Mindset is my specialty, and it's one of my favorite topics to talk about, because the more that we strengthen our mindsets during this time and take positive actions and pay attention to what we're allowing, what we're aware of, and really building in the desire. Remember, knowledge and skills can be gained, and then we need to reinforce the behavior so that we want to continue to keep those positive changes up. So keep that consistency moving so we can come out of anything stronger than when we went into it. Any final comments? I would love to go around and just anyone want to share either in the chat box or pop off the mic before, and pardon me if it does cut out here, but I'd love to hear what your greatest takeaway is from this little coffee break and connecting with me today. Audrey, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So, Deborah, you and I had a chat earlier today. It's funny how the same things come up for other people. I guess I feel like I'm often dealing with things like the imposter syndrome on my own. But, to see Gayleen's comment right away, I was like, okay, so this is a common view. I can do this. I can, I can create some new habits. I can push forward with some of these things and get to, where I want to be. And the other thing that strikes me is that we have, is your first name Vaughn?
Yes.
So Vaughn and I were on Bob's call this morning too. So it's such a small world, even when we're digital. Just a small world.
Yeah, small world.
Definitely not 6 degrees of separation, that's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Audrey. Gayleen, do you want to come off and just share your takeaways? There you are.
Hi. Sorry, I had a shower. Imposter syndrome is something I do deal with as well. And it's just really, I just have to reset. It's a mindset thing. And this whole call was really good about these really challenging times, and just resetting your mind as to, I mean, we're still here. We still have these skills. Life still goes on, and to not get caught up in the negativity. It was just really good overall, because I mean, honestly, thoughts and feelings create behavior. I like that diagram that you had. So
Thanks,
that's about all I can think of right now.
No problem. And
Good,
it's
I'm still
really,
digesting.
thank you so much for joining us. And it is really about coming from a place of gratitude, being grateful for those things that we have. And when we can start listing some of those things, it will be amazing for you to notice and be guided by some of the insight that you get from your gratitude. Bob.
Hi there.
Hi, thank you for joining
On
us.
seeing a few people I've seen already this morning.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I went from international coffee chat to more localized coffee chat, but I missed the first part of it because I just was on and saw it. But you know, dealing with the imposter syndrome, in sense, I've had to deal with that my whole life. But one of the things that I have learned is when that happens, go back and say, okay, when I did this, I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. Because, you know, the idea behind the imposter syndrome is, what if I can't do this? What if people don't believe me? What if I can't succeed? What if they find out that I'm faking it? But if you look back and say, okay, there were times in my life that I had that challenge, but I pushed ahead and did it anyway. So I've got a track record of accomplishments that I can build on, that I can look at, that I can say, well, okay, maybe I feel like that now, but looking back on today, from a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, I'm going to realize that maybe I wasn't the imposter. I was just dealing with the fear or the anxiety or the unknown. Like we were talking on my coffee break about, there's so much happening in our industry with the speaking business that we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so much happening that has already impacted us and will long-term impact us. And we have no idea how to react to it because it's never been done before.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to invent the future as we create it. And that's okay, because we've done that in the past.
Yeah. And those times, like you said, Bob, is when we thought that we couldn't do something. Those were times of uncertainty. And then when you took action, you moved through it, you realized you were capable, you were able, you had the knowledge, you had the skills, and you came out on the other side. And if you needed to adjust, you did. Yeah. So treating those same times just like we're going through right now, and pulling on that resiliency and moving forward. And that's the key thing. Continue moving forward.
Keep moving.
One of my friends that I was chatting with the other day, he was talking about, remember when you were a kid and you're on the swings and you're pumping your legs to get higher and higher so that it felt like you were flying? Well, if we stop pumping, we're not going to see the heights of what's possible for us, right? So to keep that consistency in place. Okay, Vaughn, your turn. What's your greatest takeaway?
Oh, well, thank you, Deb. My greatest takeaway today is we are now in uncertainty, but you already said it. Continue moving forward. That's my biggest takeaway today. So in my case, I need to be creative. I need to leverage. So I need to learn more things like this Zoom. Like I'm not doing anything right now aside from cooking, cleaning, and helping in the laundry, right? So I have lots of time to join the Zoom meeting. So this is my second Zoom meeting. I will move forward to my third at 1 o'clock, and then at tonight, my fourth Zoom meeting. So this is the opportunity for me to learn. So
and
take advantage.
The next one was that you're going to host a Zoom meeting.
We will come to that, of course, learning from people like you, Bob, and other people who inspire us. That might be a big possibility for me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining me again. Go over to debrakasowski.com, and I'll put that in here again, so you can get your free video course on making habits stick so that you can move forward with resiliency, but also start building in those habits that are going to stick, that are serving you and not serving you. And I'd love for you to join us on Saturday. It is April 11th at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I will put out the Zoom. It will be the same Zoom link. And it'll be Zaheen Nanji and myself talking about resiliency and resetting the mind. Thank you for joining me. And I will load this on to Facebook after so that you can continue to use this and review Mastering Your Mindset in Uncertain Times. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me on Fearless Friday, where we're talking about mastering your mindset, especially during uncertain times. So some key takeaways for you as you move into different times that you're not familiar with, knowing that you have been places of uncertainty in the past and being able to recognize that and knowing that you've moved forward, you've taken actions, you've gained more knowledge, you've tested what's happening in the world, you've gained new skills, and they've helped you become more confident and more competent in the other areas. The other thing that I want to emphasize with you is that you have control over what you allow to influence your mind, these 6 inches right here. So I want you to really pay attention. What are you allowing into your mind? What beliefs are you hanging on to? And are those beliefs serving you? Are they influencing the way you're thinking and feeling about certain situations or people that are preventing you from getting the results that you want? We often need to challenge those beliefs. And if we want a new reality, we need to go back to our beliefs and see what belief are we holding on to that is no longer serving us. So really paying attention to those external and internal influences that are impacting how you think, how you feel about the world around you, the people in your world, and the actions that you take moving forward to get the results that you want. You have a lot more control than you maybe have given credit for. And you also allow the influence of others, as well as allow whatever you allow into your mind to influence you. So really thinking about, what am I allowing? What do I need to change? What beliefs no longer serve me? And if you want to look at some events in your past that, that didn't go maybe the way you wanted to, ask yourself, what belief influenced the actions I took at that time? So when a similar situation comes up in the future, you can challenge that same belief, think about the results that you want, and what is the belief I need to hold in order to get that result. We also talked about imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is when people feel like they're not showing up or they're going to be found out as not being truly authentic. Very important values for many people. And here is the thing that I want to reinforce. When you are in action of practicing, reinforcing knowledge, skills, and ability for what you're preparing to be, you're not being an imposter. You're in action. It's those people who want to show up and say that they claim that they are something, but there's no action behind that. That would be more of an imposter. I often encourage people who say, well, act as if. That if is, there's that little bit of doubt in there saying, I don't know if I truly can succeed at this, because there's that if. I want you to take off that F at the end and put an S where it's act as is. Act as is, it is. It is right now. It's happening. And if you show up as that event that you want to, that future, you're going to anticipate, and you are going to think differently. You're going to act differently. You're going to ask different questions when you already believe you are. And again, if you don't believe it yet, you're not going to see it. So find a way to really look at integrating your beliefs and align them with the goals and dreams that you have so that you can move forward with confidence, competence, even in times of uncertainty. I'm so glad that so many of you have joined us, and thank you for watching this video. If you feel so inclined, please share this video, and also go over to my website, grab your free gift of Making Habits Stick, because that's where it all starts, and it's going to help you stay focused and consistent on getting after those goals and dreams that you have. Go out and take on the day. You can go over to www.debrakasowski.com.